Let's get started. Hope you had a good lunch. Those of you that are watching online, I hope for some of you back east, this is probably a snack. And anyways, this is our session that we call the Marriage Ministry Maze. And let me give you a little background on Kim and I. When I finished Bible college, I was desperate to find my wife at Bible college. And I said, God, where do you find a woman called to ministry? And my last year of school, it's about January, I was praying, and the Lord said, well, when you obey me and go to Dallas, because I wanted to come back here to Colorado Springs, the Lord said, when you obey me and go to Dallas, you'll find your wife there. And so I instantly had a passion for Dallas. And so I moved to Dallas upon graduating in May, moved to Dallas, and literally 2 weeks after I got to Dallas, the church that I had went to I just started volunteering my buns off, and then it eventually ended up on staff there. But 2 weeks after, before I got there, here's what happened. Before I get there, and I'm talking with the youth pastor. I was called, passionate about youth ministry, and so I'm helping the youth pastor, and the youth pastor's wife she says, are you dating anybody? And I more or less said, no, I'm desperately looking. And she said, well, there is this young woman that has grown up in our student ministry, and she's known since the age of 12 she's called to the ministry. And at first I'm like, yes, this is awesome. And then I go, what does she look like? Because, it's like, I'm called to ministry, and she's got a hunchback and warts, I was like, I could be signing up. And then I saw her, and I was just thrilled and excited and ecstatic and all that kind of good stuff.
That's very spiritual.
Yes.
Very spiritual.
So about 2.5 years after that, we got married in 1983. We have 3 kids. Throw up our family photo. My son is here. He'll love it. I thought you guys had it. Yes. That's my son, Preston, and my oldest daughter, Alicia. She was on staff here for about 5 years, and now she's in Texas. And our second daughter, Allison, is here in the Springs. And so anyways, that's our family. And so they're all in their 20s and doing their thing and pursuing
Which makes
God's
us
direction.
A little
empty
old.
nesters.
It makes us empty nesters, but old.
Amen. So anyways, we've been married 33 years from today, and so our goal and our passion is not to say we've arrived, we know it, but we know that there are strains upon doing life, doing marriage, and doing ministry presents some great challenges.
All right. The reason that we are passionate about this subject is because I think that most of you know being in ministry is just not the 9 to 5. It's not like you come home and you can forget it. Even if you are in ministry and then your spouse isn't, or work part-time, I think we've been through a lot of those stages ourselves. There have been a lot of seasons where I worked a secular job, then we had children, and that was my full-time job, was children. And so I went through a lot of seasons where that has changed my role in the ministry and what we did together. But hard not to talk about those things 24/7. So we made a lot of mistakes. So if anything that we've done that we can tell you, or if we can tell you how we either coped with it or changed, then it will have been worth it to have shared those things with you. But I do believe that the devil is out to really attack ministry marriages, because I think that it's not just the ministry, but it will just not be the pastor or a key leader in the church. Then it affects a lot of other people. So I think Satan knows that and tries really hard. So, how many times, I think you said early in your session, how many times on a Sunday morning, truly, the devil's like, and I think about this thing, which is probably a valid something for us to discuss, but I don't need to bring that up 30 minutes and let Satan use me and the devil use me 30 minutes before a service starts to pick a fight, basically, right? So I'm just not gonna let that happen. So.
Well, I think one of the things that we all know, and I don't say it from the platform on a Sunday, because I think sometimes it becomes this badge of honor. But I'll be blunt. I think the enemy tries to attack our marriages and ministry more because other than politics and ministry, are two of the primary occupations that failure in your marriage arena can dissolve your position. And so the enemy knows if he can stop us from communicating the message and the gospel, then he can shut us down, then he's got the one up. So if he can destroy our marriage, then he can destroy that voice. And so I think there are challenges that we face. And our heart as leaders in the church is what Paul said. Paul said, "Follow me as I follow Christ." Now, what we don't try and convey is perfection, because I think that's been overly conveyed in ministry circles for too long. That the pastor and his wife never fight, they never have disagreements, they're just picture perfect, and it must be so awesome to be in the ministry. Well, we're transparent. We don't share specifics, but I'll say from the platform, Kim and I had a disagreement. I want them to know that we're real people, that we have disagreements, and that we face real challenges and real struggles. And so our heart is to demystify what marriage is and use our life to model to others how they too can have a good marriage. And so I'll usually pick on myself in a sermon.
Oh, I've been picked on.
Yeah, you do take your hits. But there's revenge when she gets the microphone and then she shares at the women's things or she shares on a Sunday.
When he told things about the kids when they were growing up, I think it was a quarter for every example. Okay, I'm like way over that inflation-wise, right? I'm up to about $25 per thing.
So what we want to do is take the next few minutes and just share some big ideas, just some things that hopefully are some reminders that'll help you navigate this marriage ministry maze together. So if you're taking notes, the first one is this. The number one thing we do to build and maintain a healthy marriage is daily pursue God.
That's right.
We have to daily pursue God. And one of the mistakes that I see happening in so many relationships, I touched on it this past weekend, is it is not her responsibility to keep and to make me happy. And it is not my responsibility as a husband to keep and to make her happy. If her happiness is based on what I do or I don't do and vice versa, then there's a real problem. Our joy, our satisfaction in life, our peace in life, our mainstay, our comforter, our counselor. If I try and make her Jesus, she's going to fail.
I'm a lousy Jesus.
But I need to be leaning on Jesus and growing in Him. And so the traditional model would say that two people need to grow together. If you see that first triangle, throw that one up there. That the husband and wife need to move together and run through the field. And it's slow motion and you're running together. The reality is, if we go to the next one is, if Kim is pursuing God and I'm pursuing God, guess what? Our relationship grows closer together. And it makes me a better husband and her a better wife, makes me more forgiving and her more understanding. And so that's what helps us navigate that.
All right, number 2, the demands of ministry will attempt to intrude upon our personal life and marriage. We must be intentional about creating personal boundaries. They don't just pop up and happen. We have to be intentional about it. Even when we were doing student ministry, we were intentional about not having an open door policy that you could drop by our house anytime. I tell you what, even as good of friends as you are, I'm not going to just come to your house and knock on your door. I'm going to call in advance. So I think that's manners, right? So we had them, if something comes up, let us know, and we'd be glad to help you out. But we have intentional boundaries that we've created, and I think that that's good. Especially, I think it's good for the people in your church to see that you've created those boundaries around your family, because most of them potentially need to create those as well. And then when it was the students, there were times where we created boundaries. And I remember a young man one time saying, he says, I didn't grow up in a 2-parent home, and by seeing the way that Dean is with the kids and the way he brushes the girls' hair, if we're over at your house and we've seen him do that, or the way that he protects his family, he didn't know how to do that. So by modeling that, I think that's a big deal.
And so we communicate those values. A good number of you have called me on my cell, and if you get my voicemail, it says, and if you're calling on Monday, that is my day out with my wife and my family. Family's now gone, but the voicemail stayed the same. But that's our date day. And so Kim and I were out running errands. This was probably a year or two ago, and my phone rings, and ID comes up, and it's one of our board members. And I said, "Okay, are you okay if I answer it?" She said, "Yeah, let's see what's going on." And so when I answer it, Kevin goes, "Why are you answering your phone on Mondays? I just needed to leave you a voicemail. Hang up." And watch, I had so communicated our boundaries that it taught my leadership and our church. I talk about Monday as our date day. That's our day. We go play, we go hang out, we go hike, we go watch a movie. And so I promise you, if they had a limb hanging off, I really don't know if our members would call. I think they'd be like, "Nope, don't call my pastor. It's his date day. You can call him tomorrow, and I should live through tomorrow, and then he can come pray." But we've just overly communicated our boundaries and the priority of our relationship that has helped people grasp and understand that.
All right. Number 3, I would get down and walk around, but I don't think I'd ever get back up here. So. Number 3, frustrations in marriage are typically the result of unmet expectations. Typically the result of unmet expectations. I have an expectation for this coming Saturday. I tried to just a little seed of communicating.
No, it was a mandate this morning.
Was it?
It was a mandate. This is what is happening on Saturday.
And what did I say?
We are doing absolutely nothing on Saturday. We are sleeping in, and she communicated those expectations.
Okay, so the better we communicate those, otherwise what happens if those aren't communicated Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, then the frustration sets in, right? Where I would say then, or maybe I don't. Usually I probably wouldn't. I just kind of keep it inside, go, this day didn't turn out anything like what I had anticipated or what I had thought. So communicating those expectations. Something that we now talk about, which we've had happen on a couple of vacations, my expectation of a vacation and I know you want to jump in, just give me a minute, wait till I finish it. So my expectation of a vacation about how much contact needs to happen with the church office is different than Dean's. And so we now have started talking about that before we go.
It's a written contract I have to
we
sign.
do blood, the whole thing. No, so do you feel the need to check in once? Or if we're only gone 7 days, do you think we could completely, and his catchphrase is, what if the kids need us? Okay, so they have to be completely bleeding out before they know to call us on vacation.
And they didn't even call us.
And they didn't even call us when that happened once. They just said, don't look on Facebook because the pictures are pretty bad and they've already been to the hospital. So there you go, right? There's nothing we can do.
But communicating those expectations on evenings, weekends,
right,
days off. And so one of the things where we're learning is I'm telling her that, yep, I've got a wedding on Saturday. You didn't tell me that. Oh, yeah, I did. I told you that. Remember it? No. And so
or it's on Monday on our date day, right? I'm teaching a Springs Rescue this Monday. Really? I didn't realize that. I do it every year.
So we're working on our communication and reviewing of calendars so that our expectations are met and fulfilled. Number 4, we must live our priorities, not just talk about them. We've got to live our priorities, not just talk about them. And we as ministers and pastors, we know the sermon. I don't need to preach to you about our priority levels and systems, but I could probably preach for an hour to myself and to us and to you about it's a whole nother thing to live them out.
Right.
I am a recovering workaholic, and by God's grace, I overcome. I love what I do, and so to me, it's not work. But when I moved to Tulsa back in '95, my son was about 2.5, somewhere in there. And the first year, I'm like, I'm going to be the youth pastor of all that. I'm teaching 9 Bible college classes that I'm writing the curriculum for the first year. And I'm the on-call, one of 3 on-call ministers on staff. And I was determined I can do it all. I am superhuman. And so I was just go. And finally, my son came to Kim about 8-10 months into this, and he says in his little 3-year-old voice, I wish I was sick and in the hospital. She goes, Preston, why would you say that? Because then my daddy would come see me. I heard that and I was like, I am so in left field. I am so out of bounds. I have to. The church wasn't making me do that. It was me, that drive. I'm going to be the man. And it does affect us men more that we try and get our self-confidence and our recognition out of our position, and we want to achieve and be overachievers. Well, at the sacrifice of our kids. And so I have to, she will tell you, it's not something like we've resolved years ago. I have to continually, she goes, does your brain ever unplug? I said, do you want the truth or you want to hear what you want to hear? And like she goes, like when we're on vacation, do you just get to the point like you don't even think? I said, no, it gets worse on vacation because I don't have the day-to-day and my mind gets uncluttered and ideas, and we could do this. And
then the staff wants T-shirts that say, I survived Pastor Dean's first day back from vacation. Right after, right?
So anyways, number 5, remember who the enemy is. The enemy wants to cause division. And I don't know how many situations, whether it's a family crisis, a medical issue, a church crisis, a death in the church, a staff transition thing, where the tension and the pressure is on, that we can find ourselves getting quip and short and we're tense. And so we just have to, one of the things that has helped us is just to go, I'm sorry, it's not you. And when you're on the receiving end of that, it's like, thank God, I knew it wasn't, but I wasn't sure you did. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you're being crabby. And when we recognize that I'm being a crab and it's not you, it totally diffuses that situation. What is the enemy trying to do? If he can divide the power of your unity, he's weakened your prayer force. He's weakened you.
All right, number 6. This is my favorite.
Oh, can I just set them up for this?
Okay.
Let me tee up the ball for you, honey. Men, women, get your hankies out. Men, I'm just going to tell you, I have met with a counselor that I see, and we'll talk about that in a minute. He said this is the number one issue of his counseling. Marriage counseling is right here, and my wife is going to give us all the wisdom we need. It is a gender thing. Guys are like, I don't get it. And women are like, yes, I get it. All right, so men, just understand, you don't have the brain chip to understand. Trust your wife. Trust the female species. Go ahead, babe.
Set boundaries with electronics.
And all the women said?
Woo! Okay.
What do you mean by that, babe?
This is an important issue for women because I know that I'm not going to tell, it's not an all gender thing, so we'll just use my husband and potentially
thank you.
The rest of you will think that as well. He does not multitask well. So if you think that I'm fooled, that you can look at your phone, check your emails, return a text, and listen to what I'm saying simultaneously, I am not fooled. I know that that's not happening. And so I know that visually you're looking at something, and auditory, it's like background noise. It's Charlie Brown's teacher. It's wah, 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 wah. That's all he's hearing. And then when I pause for too long until he's done looking at a screen, you said, and then he tries to make it up, and he is nowhere close, right? You're just digging your way out of the doghouse, and you're not even close. So, my expectations have got to be somewhat achievable and attainable. So we have to consistently remind each of us on Mondays we're just not going to check our emails. I'm not a big fan of checking them on vacation. My thing with those is you don't get to choose what comes in your inbox. So if a member has chewed you out or chewed out one of your staff members and you have your hair up in a prickle here because you want to defend the staff member, you don't get to take back that information that just came in that email. And you don't get to take it back on a Monday. You don't get to take it back on your vacation. You don't get to take that back. That information is there, and then your emotions have to deal with it. And I wanted that little extra emotional energy that you had. I thought you were saving it up for us. So I would clearly define your expectations of what the evening looks like. We live 1.5 miles from the office, and you just walked in the door and pulled out your computer. What happened in those last 3 minutes? Really? So So we did have a rule where he had to stay at the office until it was all done. Then he never came home. And about Thursday, I hadn't seen him since Sunday. And he says, I want to come home. I haven't been home since Sunday. And it's like 7 o'clock at night. If I wait till this sermon's done or I wait till I'm done, I'll never be able to come home. So then we had to adjust them. My expectations were too high, so we had to adjust them. So women do not want their honeys watching a screen all the time. So you work that out, what's good in your marriage.
And I would tell you, everyone, turn off the automatic notifications for a Facebook message, someone tagged you, someone posted, that you're not getting this ting, ting, or that your emails do not come in and bring a notification where your pocket is constantly vibrating or something is constantly dinging. We have ours on manual. We will make sure our phones are off at night so we can sleep. And if you want to get her upset, is have my phone
Let
go
him
off.
be on a board of an East Coast church.
New Jersey church.
Holy smokes, they got to start at the crack of dawn, and it's 4 o'clock
No,
our time.
it's 6 o'clock there when he's getting up and having his devotional time, and he's going to send me a text to tell me something. It's 4 a.m. here. God bless you, East Coast people. All right? Number 7, learn one another's pace of life and adjust your schedule accordingly. Here's what I would tell you. You guys can tell by me that I am the racehorse that is snorting in the gate, and I'm waiting for the bell to ring and the thing to swing open, and I'm just like, I don't do anything half-baked. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it full sprint, full throttle. We're going for it. Well, she used to be more that way, and then somewhere she changed the rules. And she was like,
I communicated that.
She did.
Do lots of counseling.
And so
cost me a lot of money, but
it's not about me winning. It's the truth. It's not about me winning, but it's what? It's about what can we accomplish together? I need her. I desperately need her, and I want her in this race with me. And if I'm going to try and run ahead and leave her behind, then I'm going to end up a very lonely man. And so that's where our priorities come back in, that my relationship with her is more valuable than accomplishing the next hill to take and going from there. And so it's adjusting our life and our pace, and she helps me slow down some, and then I help her pick up some.
Okay, number 8. Seasons of busyness in ministry will happen. Do not attempt to sustain that long term.
How many of you have? Come on, you know.
Or we've used the excuse. This is a busy season. As soon as fall, as soon as the youngest goes to kindergarten, as soon as
the building's complete,
or as soon as we get over, there's a lot of things that you can control, and then there's things you can't control, and we'll also address that in a minute. So, a tragic death in the church. That's not just a busy season. That's just busy physically. That's busy emotionally. That's draining, right? So you can't sustain those things long term. Be intentional about planning a getaway, especially if you see one of those busy seasons. Be intentional about planning that. One more thing about vacations. We have a lot of people most of our staff, I'm not sure any of them have their relatives that are local. And so they'll all tell you that we are like, we can't wait for you guys to go on vacation. This is going to be awesome. You're going to visit family? Okay. Do you have some priorities set here? Do you have time away? If you have children, they'll be great babysitters. That's free. You know, we just try to really tell everybody that you have to really be careful, because if all you do for a while is just go to family, sometimes those situations can be hard.
You're beating around the bush. It's not vacation to
Okay,
go see
thank you.
relatives, okay? You're going to see the grandparents. It's just
I
not
thought
vacation.
I said it nicer.
No, I just got to
What
get
if
it out
someone's
there.
mom's watching?
All right. I think I sent the link to our parents. I think they're both watching. God bless you. All right. Number 9, be proactive in keeping your spiritual, emotional, and physical tanks full. I touched on this in a previous session, but I really have to just drive this home, that I'm of no value to her and vice versa. If I give all my emotional energy to the church and to the mission, and I have no emotional energy left for her, for our time, for our evening, then I've got to make sure that I'm doing those things that refill me, that charge me, that energize me, and keep me going and doing that. And one of the things that we have found that we really enjoy, I don't know what it is, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, But if I can get out of Colorado Springs for 24 to 36 hours, it does something amazing for both of us.
So that's Pricelining an express deal in Denver for $49 because they're going to feed you breakfast too. It just doesn't get any better than that, right? So it's that for one day.
And so for us to go spend a night in a hotel, cheap, eat at Taco Bell, it's not a big expense, but it helps us recharge to just get away for that short season.
We tried
that
Pueblo.
short
Mike.
Window.
That didn't do the same thing.
Yeah, we're
for
not
me.
going to Pueblo. Where's Mike? We're not going to Pueblo, brother.
It wasn't the same. There wasn't as much to do. So, all right, number 10, establish no ministry talk zones. Establish no ministry talk zones. So with us both working, we have found that it is actually more challenging with us both as engaged as we are in the ministry. Here's something else. We kind of thought, I don't know what you guys did, those of you who don't have children that are living at home, or somehow you got rid of yours, but that, I thought, well, we don't have children around, that's going to free up a lot of time for us. We found it just did the opposite. We didn't then feel guilty. Does that make sense? At the dinner table and different things, we didn't feel guilty talking about it, so now we just 24/7'd it. We talked about that all the time. So we had to go back and create boundaries because we found that we both had the tendency to do that, whereas before, because of the guilt that we put on ourselves with the kids, we tried to engage them in conversation. So no ministry talk zones. So even though we'd been married 32 years, in January we were on an extended vacation. I downloaded this book that was a Christian book, but it was like all these questions you're to ask each other. And we know each other pretty well because we've known each other actually almost 35 years. And so some of them we passed right over. But we asked and we took 5 questions to dinner every night and went back and forth and answered questions. I mean, I know that sounds stupid probably, but it really was, it was just a jumping off point for both of us. And it kept us from our minds just doing the loop thing about ministry constantly.
And we actually on vacation do a no ministry talk zone. That's not the focus. Things might come up, but we really try and put that aside and just let ourselves be recharged and be refreshed.
And just as a note there, he doesn't almost say anything for 2 days because he doesn't talk about it if he doesn't talk about ministry. But that's where we're trying to get to, right? So it's like, geez, you ask questions, it's like, and then there's nothing to talk about. And then he starts settling down and settling in. Am I telling on you too much?
Nope.
Sorry, babe.
Nope.
Okay, it's your turn.
We're real. They're laughing because they've done the same thing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Number 11, schedule family time on your calendars. If something is a priority, it gets put on the calendar. 20 years ago, I had a mentor say this to me, and I said, I'm trying to balance this ministry and family. And they said, you just need to schedule. And I went, well, that's cheesy. I mean, it's pretty low if you have to put it on your calendar. And it was like, no, it's just the opposite. If it's a priority, the things go on your calendar that's a priority. If you have a luncheon appointment on Friday at noon, it goes on your calendar because it's a priority and you don't want to forget it or miss it. Same is true. And here's what freed me up. And a mentor taught this to me. They said, when you schedule family time and you've got Tuesday night soccer practice to take one of your kids to, and you've got drum lessons on Thursday night to take your other child to, and you've got to do these other things, when a member or a staff person or a leader in the church says, hey, we'd love to have you guys over on Thursday. Well, you know what? Let me look at my calendar. Nope, I already have something scheduled. That freed me up because I'm a people pleaser and I don't want to tell them, no, we can't. And if I say, no, I'm sorry, that's our family pizza night, then they would go, oh, so then you can come. Because their value system might not be the same as yours. Well, Thursday night pizza night is a value, like Pastor Mike was talking about. It's a value of ours. And so Thursday nights, we didn't do anything with anybody because that was a family value night.
And nothing is more reinforcing than for your children to hear their dad on the phone say, boy, I can't do that on Tuesday night, sorry. And the children know that he has just placed them in a higher priority than what he was just asked to do.
Okay, so this next one, don't throw it up there yet, guys. This next one, I'm going to tell you, has saved our bacon, saved our marriage, made it less stressful, put everything into balance, and you're going to go, it really has to do with marriage. Here it is, throw it up. Number 12, build independence within your church members. too many pastors get off on the codependent thing that the people need me. They need me to pray. They need me to give them some wisdom. And it feeds our egos. And I'm telling you, by building independence within our church members, Pastor Mike was talking about a value here, everyday ministry by everyday believers. A pediatrician. I come in on Sunday morning, we always sit over here. She always, and her husband sit over here, and she has a big cast on one of her hands. And this is the epitome of this, and I just went, yes. She came in, she has a big cast on her hand. I said, what did you do? She says, oh, I had carpal tunnel and had to do surgery. I got to wear this cast for about 4 weeks. And I said, well, when did you have surgery? She said, I had surgery Wednesday morning. She said, yep, I almost called you Tuesday night. I told Bert, I need to call Pastor Dean and Kim and have them pray. And she said, then I thought for a moment, their prayers are no better than ours. And Pastor Dean's prayer is no better than yours, Bert. Bert, you just pray and we're going to pray for the surgery. We don't need to bother them. But what do? We set ourselves up as, I am the man of God and she's the woman of God and we're anointed of God. And if you want the real God, you want to get in touch with God, we have the special hookup, we have the red phone. We debunk all of that. Every other Sunday I'm like, your prayers are just as effective as mine. Your faith is just as real. I said, I'm a pastor, but I don't have any special, like a pastor, button on our name tag. Like when you go to a conference and you get the button, you get to go to the VIP section. We don't have that as a pastor that gets us into the special room with God. And when we do that, it creates a people that know that their prayers have great and wonderful results, and their prayers make a difference. And it alleviates that, and it helps set them up. You can go, any of you can go, anybody watching on the internet, you can go and you can go to White Pages and you can find my home number. We don't hide it. It's out there. I give myself...
We still have a home phone. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
It attaches to the wall and it rings, but no one gets it. But
And
I
it's
have
just-
to have it so that I can find my cell phone, which most of the time I can't find. Sorry. Okay.
So, but I would tell you, our home phone and my cell phone rings 1 to 3 times a year of a member calling after hours for something that they need. In a church that we have several thousand members, and I'm accessible, they don't call. Why? Because my prayer is no better than theirs. And I'm a normal person, and you're a normal person, and your prayers make a difference. All right?
All right, number 13. Go on a date every week and a honeymoon once a year.
Yes.
So we're going to have to split the taco at Taco Bell. We've been there. I can't afford to have childcare. Been there too. So then you take a picnic, you go to the park, the kids play for free, and you eat the sandwich that you wrapped up. And so we've done all of those things, and had seasons where we did better than other times, probably.
Had friends babysit our kids,
and then we
babysit their
theirs.
kids.
And some families, that wasn't a good deal. You know what I'm saying? So we did that sometimes. But doing that once a week is a big thing. But once a year going on a honeymoon, we probably didn't start that until...
Explain honeymoon. That means we would take family vacations, but whether it was a weekend or a week, we kept stretching it. The older the kids got, we kept saying, we're going to be gone 7 days. We're going to be gone 9 days.
We can talk grandma into staying 3 at first, when they were little. Can you
But
just
I'm
hold on
saying
3 nights and not lose anybody?
It's a kid-free weekend for you to be kissy-face and to connect and not be worried or concerned about anything, but except focusing on each other.
So there's ways to make that work, even if you're stretched with your budget. If you make it a priority, right? As soon as you get off one, you'll already be planning the next one, I promise. It doesn't take long to get addicted to that. Number 14, don't allow someone else's momentary crisis to become yours. Don't allow someone else's momentary crisis to become yours. Had to teach the staff that as well. If someone calls, I have to see Pastor Dean. I have to see him. He sees people on Thursdays. Great. Is there time? I can't wait till Thursday. It's Tuesday. We won't live till Thursday. Well, their crisis, though, we're going to fit you in. We're going to wiggle you in. You know what? Those people are the ones who traditionally don't show up for those appointments.
And we're not talking, my husband's in the hospital with a heart attack, can you come? We're not talking someone who's in an accident. We're not talking crisis. of what you and I would term crisis or a death or something like that. We're talking, most of the time it's, I need to talk to Pastor Dean because I'm about to get evicted, and if the church doesn't cough up money, then I'm going to get evicted. And I'm not going to give you the money anyway, so, you know.
Often the crisis passes if you'll make them wait a minimum of 48 hours, before they schedule an appointment, or you spend that extra 30 minutes on the phone or whatever. Those things add up, so value your time or others won't.
And then establish safeguards to protect your relationship from intruders. One of the greatest ways to fend off crushes is to show affection in public. We do that on a regular basis. It shows anybody who's curious that we are still highly interested in each other. Last Christmas Eve, we always end the Christmas Eve the same way. I thought it was normal, but Kim and I always come up and we tell the people we love them and Merry Christmas and, blah, 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 blah. And when we walk up, I was holding her hand. Well, that's what I do. I show affection. And she shows affection. And if we had 25 people, that was so sweet that you guys were holding hands up there. We didn't do it for a show. It's who we are. But by showing that affection, it sets a parameter for others. We have open accountability on internet activity. We have covenant eyes on our computer, on our tablets, on our phones. Did I miss one, guys? Oh, you got it. You're with me.
We're always truthful.
Yeah, I'm there. We have an agreement that we always answer each other's phone call. That it's just an agreement that we have. That if she needs me, and I feel more of an obligation that she can always reach me. And so I'll be at a business lunch with some doodad this, and my phone ring, and I go, it's my wife. And then I'll go, yes? You're at a lunch. I totally forgot. I'll call you back later. It wasn't important. But other times it might be, hey, I need you to step out. I need you to talk to me. Something's going on. We got a call from the school, and we need to address those issues. We're always truthful with each other. And here's what I mean by that is by being truthful, one small lie opens a can of 500 worms of doubt.
Or even an omission. An omission of
information. So example, I'm talking to Kim during the day. She offices out of the home. That's just her thing. And so I'm talking to her and I'll say, hey, what are we having for dinner tonight? And she'll go, well, meatloaf or pork. Like I like bacon, but pork, it's not my favorite. I want a cow. And so I'll come home and I'll pick around the pork that she's made. And about halfway into the meal, I didn't eat enough to disguise what had happened. And so she'll look at me and she'll go, did you stop and eat somewhere on the way home? I did. I only had 2 tacos. I didn't get the whole thing. I just had 2 as an appetizer, honey.
He did it one time when the kids were all home and they were young, and the same thing happened. And he was honest right away and said it, and you should have seen their faces.
You didn't bring me any.
we had to eat this? You got to go out? Are you kidding me?
She's a great cook. There's just certain things I don't like.
It builds character, honey.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So, but watch. When I am truthful in that, and she already knows. She knows me for 30 plus years. She already knows I went somewhere. And if I don't tell the truth, she's going to call me out. But when I tell her the truth on that and tell on myself, it gives her confidence that I'm a person of truth and a person of character and that my word is good. Okay? Let me keep going. It's my section. So we never tell a lie, not even a small one. When we attend marriage and or family counseling on a regular basis, we have the frequent flyer miles and pass there. This has been more at some times than others. But how many of us, if we answered honestly, you don't need to answer, but how many of you would answer that is there not a stereotype in the Christian world that counseling, if you heard the pastor went for counseling, how many people's brains go, oh, it must be something major, he must have really goofed up, and they kind of go way over there. Or if you hear if somebody needs counseling, you're like, dude, they must be really messed up. Here's what we found. Strong marriages go to counseling. Weak marriages, avoid it. So I go to counseling. We go together. We've gone as family counseling. She has her counselor. I have my guy. I come home. This was within the last year. I came home and she said, "How'd that go?" And I said, "It was good." She said, well, and we're talking professional counselors. And she said, "Well, what did Kent say?" I said, she said, "How did he help you?" I said, "Absolutely nothing." She didn't say anything that helped you? I said, "Nope." I said, "I paid $100 to unload 18-wheelers of garbage and trash that I'd been holding on the inside." I threw up all over his office. It's a safe place. I'll sue him if he says anything. But I had frustrations, anxieties, staff transitions, and just things were happening. And I just needed someone to go, "This really makes me mad, and this really frustrates me, and I'm really bothered by this, and I'd like to punch that person in the face. I bet you won't judge me because I'm a pastor, and I said I wanted to punch him. In fact, I'd like to slice him." And then you let out that emotion, and then you don't end up doing it, right? You don't go postal on your people.
Number 16, you done?
I don't know if it's out yet. What time's our stop time on your schedule?
Okay.
2? All right, we're
We've got
good.
10 minutes. All right, 16. Learn what works for the two of you in decision making. Learn what works for the two of you. It's not going to be the same thing. So this is just little bitty, and I know you do this, but just reminder, back when we were very first married, it's probably $20. If you're going to spend more than $20, you have to get permission from me. Well, there were no cell phones in those days, which meant that you had to walk away and talk about it and then go back. So a money decision, maybe now it's $50, maybe it's $100, but both of you have some sort of agreement on that type of decision. What about an activity that the kid's going to be in? As a mommy, I think I signed kids up for stuff, and he went, "Really? We got 3 kids. They're all doing all that? Boy, we're just going to taxi both directions. You just divide the kids up and take them to wherever they went and come back at night." I learned finally, we need to discuss this. It sounded like a good idea at the time, but in the end, so make the decisions together.
But then I think it's important to understand on what that decision process looks like, because now she's on the executive team, and when we're making decisions, she's our CFO, and at the first of the year when I'm saying we're not going to renew our tenants,
I was foaming at the mouth.
yeah, she was like, "No, could we keep them just 2 more months? Could we keep them till December? Why do we have to let them go in August? Why can't we keep them to December?" "No, because we need to get the renovation done, because January is prime time growing season of the church, and we need to have it all put together by January so we can have a strong 2017 launch." But and so I had to back up, and so I've learned in her, if I push too hard in a decision, and it works in us, the other one becomes defensive. And so we have to learn to say, "You go pray about it, I'll go pray about it. I don't want to pressure you." And we have learned that if we'll give time for both of us to process, that if we're both hearing the Spirit of God, remember that triangle? If we're both pursuing God, He's not going to give us 2 different answers. And we'll come to that place of agreement, even though maybe our flesh is struggling with the decision. We know the peace that is within our heart.
Well, and that's all kind for him to say all of that. But bottom line, he is my boss and he is my pastor. And so there are things and decisions that he will make that I at least feel like I'm heard. Or I will say, "I just want to be heard," and then you can make whatever decision you want, but consider these things. But here's the thing. In the end, I think that's unfair for me to push too hard. He gets to make the decision ultimately. And so we have that in the job church area,
not in marriage,
not in our
home.
marriage area. But this applies to a lot of people who work together.
Sure.
So. All right, next, 17. Never stop growing, learning, reading, feeding, asking, and improving in your marriage. We have found a couple of other couples within our church that we enjoy hanging out with. I like to hang out with people who have good marriages. So we have also learned that how important that is, that we have friends. And for us, we have chosen not to limit that to people outside the church, because we don't know anybody. That's not true. We know a few people. But we have friends, and some of them are on our board, some of them are our elders, some of them just attend our church, that are about our age, our stage. And I think that is a way that we learned to...
Can I just kill a sacred cow right now? Can we just bring it up on the altar? light the fire, split its innards open, and cook this turkey, all right? It's not even on your notes, but I'm just going to say it. The old school ministry, I would call it, used to be decades ago, mentality of that a pastor cannot get close to his staff. A pastor should not get close to people in the church because they'll lose respect for you, because you got to maintain the office. Here is my short answer. I have learned that the closer I am to the people, my leadership, and my staff, the more I expose my heart to them and they expose their heart to me. It builds a kindred spirit within us, not a disrespect. If there's something that I'm hiding, if there's an anger management problem, and I gotta, if I get around people too long, then I can't conceal my problem. Okay, then maybe you need to hide from people. But if you're living open and transparent before the church and before your people, and so we're very honest. We tell our church, we need friends. We need people. And so you might see us out with somebody. Don't get offended. Well, why are they going out? Why didn't they invite me? We talked about this a couple years ago. We do a link, and every third Sunday night of the school year, we have 50 to 100 people over to our house. Everybody who is new to Rock gets to come to our house, come to Pastor Dean's house, hang out with us, eat our food, sit on our couch, spill Coke on our carpet, whatever it is, and we're very open and transparent.
Now, has that bit us in the butt? Absolutely.
It will bite you in the butt, but I'll tell you, as far as with my staff, I would tell you that if you said to me, do you want to go on vacation with any of the couples that you're working with, I'd be like, sure. We enjoy hanging out together. We enjoy doing life together. And we have a camaraderie and a spirit and a unity and a friendship. And what I would say to those of you that are in support staff, here's the biggest difference. You have to be able to switch hats when your pastor does. Because Mike and Liz and I might be out for dinner and we're having fun, and what movie do we want to go see after we're done eating? And then I put on this hat that says boss and lead pastor, and I said, Mike, do we have the banner ordered for Friday? We have to have the banner. And he has to take off the hat of friend and say employee. Yes, sir, it's going to be here. It's taken care of. And then we both put on the friend hat and we go back to chatting about the movie we want to go see.
But where it's bitten us before is we have become vulnerable. We have gotten close to people within the church, and then we've done something, because we are so imperfect, right? We've done something that's ticked them off, and they've left and gone to a different church. Does that sting? Absolutely. Almost every person on my staff will tell you someone they've gotten close to has done the same. And it has stung, but we've chosen then to become vulnerable and do it again because we believe it's worth it.
Okay, we got just a few minutes, but I want to wrap this up. Number 18, make sure you're having fun together.
Okay.
That you're enjoying each other, you're laughing a lot. 19, never forget to celebrate the victories of your life, of your family, of your marriage. And then the next thing we want to talk about is navigating personal pain while doing public ministry.
So for us, the list is so long, but there have been so many times. Dean said we dealt with a situation and he wakes up and he only got to sleep an hour. Then you still have to get up and you still have to give. I still believe that it's in that pain that sometimes the grace is given by the Lord, and it's going to be some of your best days. And it won't be anything you've done. So we've been through infertility. We've been through life and death situations with some of our children. We've been through a ministry transition or a job change. There's just tons of
all
things.
of those things: wounds, surgeries, medical battles, emotional battles, challenges in our parenting, and all of those things. And so we face that. So number one, we didn't pretend to be perfect. We didn't hide what we were going through from our board, our elders, or our staff. Now, we didn't come to the church and say, oh, this is what we're going through, all right? But we were transparent with those in leadership. We didn't try and pretend like everything's okay. We said, here's what we're facing, here's what we're battling. But we did ask them this: do not discuss this with us on Sunday. There were some very emotional, painful situations that we were going through, that if you had talked to one of us in this lobby and they asked, how is that family member doing? We would have broke down and bawled like a baby. You can't bring it up. We're trying to put our focus to minister, and you can't bring it up. But we did not try and hide that, and we were transparent what was happening there. Secondly, we attended counseling together and individually. Our board has approved the covering of the expense for the pastor, the staff members, and their dependents 100%. And that's just a perk that we have and a situation we went through.
Something else we did during that time is we took some extended time off. I think for 49 Sundays out of the year, Dean was in the pulpit, right? And so we decided we'd never taken more than 2 Sundays off, and we'd only done that once.
We took 3.
And we took 3 whole Sundays off.
4 weeks, 3 Sundays. It was life transforming. I would encourage you to take it. That wasn't a sabbatical. That was our summer vacation.
Number 4, we don't have a sabbatical policy.
No.
Some of your friends do. We need to borrow that. Number 4, we leaned on the grace of God like never before in our lives. Already addressed that. Number 5, we greatly reduced our social calendar and only did what had to be done. So instead of we try to get together with the staff and have something at least quarterly. Some of those things we just had to take off the burner. We didn't have enough emotional capacity at one point to get out of the car when we got home and crawl inside, just crawl into the fetal position, eat a morsel of bread, and then the next day go back and try to do it again, right? So there's just times where, but again, we were transparent. We were pretty transparent with the staff. We're having to just pull back and do what we can do, and it's pretty minimal right now. So their expectations then were a little different. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, they must not like us, or wonder what's happening.
We had to communicate that.
Right.
And then lastly, we never publicly share about a crisis we are currently walking through. We don't need people's negativity and doubt. We wanted to protect our family, protect our kids. Example, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, Kim had to have a couple major surgeries. We didn't tell the whole church because she was like, I'm in the hospital and I know what I think I look like, and I do not want everyone coming up there going, oh, Miss Kim, we just want to come see you. That was honoring her boundaries, and she said, later we'll talk about it. And so here's a litmus test that I do is probably we have a minimum of a 2-year, very personal, we don't go there for 2 to 5 years. So example, when we were married 3 years in, we started to we were married 3 years and we're going to have our kids, and Kim wanted to get pregnant this month so the baby would be delivered this month, and it didn't happen in her analytical way, and then it didn't happen at all, and it was unexplained. Well, we didn't talk about infertility until probably, I think we had at least 1 or 2 kids through the adoption process. We adopted them as infants. And then we could begin to talk about it. Because if you talk about it too quick, it stirs up too much of the pain and the emotions that you're still healing from, even though the incident is over. And or then the people that are involved, it becomes too sensitive to them and for you to tell those stories. And so we're very careful on what we say. One of the things I love that, if you recall back, that Brother Hagin would do is you notice how he never told stories of the crusade last week or the crusade last month or last year. Back in 54.
On a Tuesday.
Yeah, he would tell a story and take it back there. All right?